In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
I'm probably going to date myself when I tell you this story, but so be it. I'm as old as I am, I guess. Way back in the 50s, which seems, I'm sure, to some of you, well, not all of you, like ancient history, I remember the day that we got our first television set. And my older brother and myself, at that time we were the only two children in our family, anxiously awaited for its delivery. And they came and they unboxed it, and it had doors on it that opened up, and it had this, at that time, this wonderful looking screen, and it had little knobs down here, and it turned it on, and keep the vertical and the horizontal things straight, and didn't even know what that meant at that time, but anyway, they were all there. And of course, one of the first shows that I watched that I absolutely loved was a Howdy Doody show. Come to find out that Clarabelle was from Iowa. And I thought, whoa, that's a good deal. That's worth watching. But the show that I really liked was a show called Mitch Miller and the Gang. And the reason I liked it was because you could sing along with it, and I promised John not to sing, because it had the words on the bottom of the screen, and it had the little bouncing ball that went along. And the favorite song that he had that I absolutely loved was "Be kind to your web-footed friend, for a duck may be somebody's either mother or brother." And I like that. In some years, not very many years ago, when I got my first iPod, I looked for that song. I put it on because, to me, that encapsulates the message of the New Testament, particularly our Gospels. And today, in Mark's Gospel, we hear the embodiment of being kind. We hear Jesus and listen to the stories about how he made the deaf hear and the mute speak, and we know that there's others where he rose people, brought people back to life. And he literally, as the gospel tells us this morning, he was a wonderment to the people because he could do it all very well. And people could see and could watch. Now today, I believe that we have lost the message. We have lost the message not only of Mitch Miller, "Be kind to your web-footed friend," but we live in a society today and in a culture that have lost the meaning of what Jesus talked about in our Gospels, particularly the message of being kind to each other. It doesn't take us very long to find ourselves in a society where we witness and maybe experience what it means to be intolerant, where we have to find somebody to blame. We have to point our finger and say, "You're wrong. This is the way it should be." That's not the embodiment of the gospel message, but it's that society in which we live. We can look at our own church to begin with, and we can look at our history, going back 30 some odd years to when our church in America decided to ordain women. Well, you would have thought that God dropped the world, and we had people leave, and we had people in constant conflict over what? What's the deal? In 2003, as we all remember, what happened with our church, when Gene Robinson was affirmed by the National Convention as an openly gay bishop, or at that time, to be elected and ordained as the first openly gay bishop. The same thing happened. There was division and intolerance, pointing fingers, "You're wrong, that shouldn't happen." For what? Is that being kind? Being kind to women, not to allow them to share orders with us and to be part of the community? We can go to our educational systems and we can find all kinds of division. Because when you deal with the children of parents, you're dealing with the most important aspect of the parents' lives. So I come from a community that's pretty much divided educationally because they decided to build a second high school. And there are people moving from the south side to the north side so that that will be the strong sports school. For what? Have we lost the message? I won't even venture in the quadrum of politics, of division and intolerance. But we pull that back and we say, what is it that we do or can do to improve and make sure that the message of Jesus Christ is living today? Actually, it's very simple. We can listen. We may not agree, but we want to understand. We want to learn maybe why somebody is where they are. Not to condemn them and say they're wrong, because they're not wrong. They are where they are because of who they are. And we find that in our gospel of Jesus Christ. He never turned somebody away. He never turned anybody out and said, you don't belong here. Instead, he invited people regardless of who they were, what they were, and how they lived. Because he talked about that faith and works that we heard not only in James this morning, but what is manifest in our gospel. And if we have faith, that's good. That's great. We need it. We have to have it. But if all we do is exhibit that faith without the works that go along with it, we indeed have lost the message of Jesus Christ. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.